can move my computer to the other side if it would make it easier.
No, that's fine.
I'm grabbing one of these fishes for somebody else does. Did you hear that rain this afternoon?
Yeah,
It was unreal.
it's leaking in my window.
Oh no. Really? Where? In the house? In your... Oh God. Done? I dropped everything in there. You want one?
When I work at home,
That would make it popular. Do you have anything to report from the supervisor's job? Or my job?
the appointed hour, I will call the Newtown Township Planning Commission for July 17, 2018 to order. Our first item of business this evening is the approval of our minutes from June 19, 2018. You have a copy in front of you. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented this evening? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Peggy. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. This evening, our primary focus is the presentation of a conceptual sketch plan from Provco Pinegood Acquisitions, Newtown Bypass and Lower Silver Lake Road. This is planned for a proposed food market, Wawa / fuel can. The purpose of this activity this night is to hear the presentation by the applicant. And the applicant has asked to get a response from the Planning Commission members as to the viability, support, or lack thereof of this particular concept plan. This information will then move forward to the Board of Supervisors. We will be taking no action other than to ask some questions of the applicant and offer our personal opinions as Planning Commission members on the subject. Those of you in the audience that are here to gain information and insight, please take copious notes. You will have an opportunity, if you so desire, to make a public comment at the conclusion of our regular agenda items that we have before us. In the event that our agenda items carry us well into the evening, you may be advised that these comments may be as equally efficient presented directly to the Board of Supervisors at a public meeting. Just giving you that heads up so that we are going to let the applicant move through his presentation, and I will address each of the board members to offer their questions, comments, concerns, and resolve the opinions of the commission at the conclusion of the presentation. So just wanted you to be aware that that's the protocol that we will be following. We are not going to engage in back and forth between the public and the applicant. That's not the purpose of the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission only makes recommendations to the Board of Supervisors regarding the land development issues, the SALDO, subdivision and land development ordinances. We were asked by the administration and the applicant to afford them the opportunity to make this presentation tonight, and that is what we plan to do. With that being said, Mr. VanLuvanee, if you would come to the podium, identify yourself and your participants, and begin your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Fedlow. You are correct. We're here because we were asked to be here by the administration. I thought before we got into the nuts and bolts of the presentation that it would be helpful to the Planning Commission to have some perspective on how we got here and why we're here. You all know, and I am sure, from the publicity that this proposal has generated, including Mr. Mack's website, which is, or blog, whatever you want to call it, which is providing information to the public, that the site we're talking about is a 5-acre site. It's on the southeast corner of Lower Silver Lake Road in Newtown bypass. Some of you who've been around a long time may remember that this was once the site of a proposed substantive challenge filed by Stockbroker Chevrolet, proposing to relocate the Chevrolet dealership onto this property and a portion of the property that's on the other side of the Pico property that bisects what used to be a larger 10-acre site that at one time had been approved by the township for office. The property is bordered, of course, by the Newtown bypass and by Lower Silver Lake Road and by the Pico Detention Line, which is, as I've indicated, a piece of property owned by Philadelphia Electric Company in the feed. The property is located in the OR district. The OR district, according to the statement of purpose in the JMZO, was to provide for special office research and industrial related land uses on large tracts of land. And for non-residential uses, the minimum lot area is 15 acres. This property was non-conforming from the day that OR district was created because it is and always has been a 5-acre lot. Obviously not suitable for the types of uses which were originally contemplated in the OR district. And as I think most of the planning commissioners know, most of the large tracts of land in the OR district have now been developed, some for uses that were envisioned and others have been rezoned for other uses. My client is Provco Pinegood Acquisitions. It is Provco Pinegood is and has been for many years a preferred developer for Wawa. Wawa, some of you may know, no longer owns real estate. It determined that its business is convenience stores and fuel sales, and that it was better off concentrating on that and letting real estate developers handle the development of its sites. But Wawa still has a hand in the selection of those sites, and I can assure you that Wawa believes, as does my client, that this site is an exceptionally good site for the proposed use. The proposal, in short term, is a 5,585 square foot Wawa convenience store with a total of 16 fueling stations. The use is not permitted anywhere in a jointure. I know in some of the review letters that you've seen, there's a comment, well, it's not a retail store. It's not a retail store because a retail store definition states the motor vehicle fuel sales is not permitted as an accessory use to a retail store, so it doesn't fit there. UC 10 service station permits only the sale of petroleum products, tires, and automotive services. That's the old-fashioned gas station. And so we start with the assumption that this use that we're proposing really isn't permitted anywhere in the jointure. And parenthetically, I note that if you've gone through your packet, you probably have the Bucks County Planning Commission memorandum, and they made a comment that the jointure is presently considering adding a use, which would be essentially what we are proposing here, to a list of permitted uses and considering where it is best located. We think this is a great location for it. Background. In March of this year, after having first reviewed the zoning ordinance and concluded, as I just stated, that while a modern Wawa convenience store with a gas is not permitted in the jointure, I contacted Kurt Ferguson and asked for an opportunity to meet with some of the township staff just to discuss the concept. And at that time, my principal focus was to suggest to them that there were two ways to accomplish this. One, we could prepare a longer list of variances, which we already knew to be long, the proposed amendment to the jointure and asked the township to support that amendment and process it. One of the reasons that I felt and still feel that that was appropriate is because historically, when a township proposes an amendment to the JMZO, the other municipalities, as long as they weren't directly affected, have supported it. And in this case, the OR district is only located in Newtown Township. So if we propose a use that's only permitted in Newtown Township, that makes the process somewhat less cumbersome than it may otherwise be if we're, for example, if we're proposing an amendment to the Conservation Management District, which affects all three of the municipalities. Mr. Ferguson and his staff suggested that we do two things. He suggested that we file a sketch plan that would then be reviewed by the township consultants. The purpose of that review, as we were advised, was let's have our staff identify variances so that we can report to the administrator, the supervisors, and the number of variances that would be required. If we went that direction, it would help focus our discussion on whether an amendment was appropriate or a zoning hearing board application was appropriate. We promptly filed that sketch plan review on sketch plan and delivered it to the township consultants on about March 26th. We also had discussed with the staff, the administration, the fact that this is a very unique property. If you look at an aerial of this property, you have one primary land use directly affected, which is the Crossing Community Church directly across Lower Silverman Road. The rest of the ground is essentially open. Mr. Ferguson suggested we meet with the Crossing Community Church. It was a good idea. We did that. We had a meeting, my clients and I met with the church officials, the two pastors, the business manager, and their council on March 23rd, and we were sent away with blessings and good luck. We closed that meeting with a prayer, wishing us good luck in our endeavor to locate the Wawa. So the church is very supportive of this use. After submitting the sketch plan, we got reviews from Michelle, Bucks County Planning Commission, and we got a very short review letter from Remington Vernon, the traffic engineer. On April 30th, we were called by the manager's office and asked to appear before the board of supervisors at a work session on May 14th. We did that. We made a presentation very similar to the one that we're going to make tonight, and we discussed the concept. We discussed whether or not it was appropriate or not appropriate to proceed with the zoning hearing board application versus an ordinance amendment. And at the conclusion of that meeting, I was asked to go ahead and prepare a draft of an ordinance and submit it to David Sanders for review. I did that. I sent that ordinance on to Mr. Sander on May 29th. And my proposal was to create a new use called a motor vehicle fueling center, which would be use E25, permitted as a conditional use only in the OR district, with criteria that, not surprisingly, address most of the variance issues that would otherwise be applicable, including lot size, etc. I had hoped that we'd have that ordinance reviewed, but we received a call subsequently, or I received an email from Mr. Sander, who advised that he and Mr. Lewis and Mr. Boat wanted us to appear before the Planning Commission to make a presentation similar to the one that we had made to the Board of Supervisors before they issued all their review comments on the draft ordinance. So, where I originally had hoped to be here to discuss not only the proposal but the draft ordinance, we're here to make a presentation that is essentially similar to the one we made to the Board of Supervisors on May 14th. And for that reason, it is not a sketch plan review. We obviously knew when we filed the sketch plan what variances we needed, and we knew we were either going to go to the zoning hearing board or we were going to proceed with an ordinance amendment. So we're really here to discuss the concept. I believe that it was to be fair to say that it was the intent of the administration that they hear the comments from the planning commissioners preliminarily, just as we heard comments from the supervisors at the supervisors meeting. And for the supervisors in attendance here tonight, I think they'll see if they look at our package that we've actually responded to some extent to the comments we received. And I see one person who doesn't have a package. Fortunately, Mr. Cooley and Mr. Fott, two of the Provco Pinegood principals, had prior commitments tonight, so they designated me as their substitute to take you through the PowerPoint. But I do have some able assistants. Jason Korzak from Bowman Engineering has prepared the plans, and Jason is very familiar with the zoning issues. Eric Ostenchuk from Traffic Planning and Design, our traffic engineering firm, is also here to answer questions. I might say that TPD has not been asked to do a full-blown traffic study yet because this is premature. But they have taken a good look at it. They have some good preliminary ideas as to what should happen. And I think Eric will be happy to fill you folks in on that, as Matt Hammond from his firm did. The supervisors, traffic always seems to be a major consideration. There always seems to be a lot of questions. And although I've listened to my traffic engineers, I don't have the credentials, so I have to have a supporting cast. So Eric is here to fulfill that function tonight. That's the background. That's why we're here. And so I do agree with Mr. Fiddler that we have a limited purpose tonight, and we're really here just to get your comments. And perhaps those comments may find their way into a draft ordinance. Our next step, we're waiting. I'm told by David today that the ordinance is under review by the township. Michelle's nodding affirmatively, so I assume that means that she's looking at it. I assume the other township consultants are looking at it. So I'm hoping we get feedback, we have a chance to react to that. Then I think the intent of the administration is we put that ordinance together, submit it again, and it comes back before the planning commission for some more detailed. I think that's the intent. That's what I understand it anyway. So this is preliminary. I did tonight hand out to you what are the 11 by 17 copies of what is a PowerPoint presentation, or could be. And I'm going to take you through this briefly, and when necessary, for the benefit of the supervisor and attendants, I can point out some of the changes we've made since the supervisor's meeting as a result of some of the comments we received. The first page of this presentation is an aerial. What you see to the left side is crossing the Union Church complex. Probably all familiar with it. The site is the little irregularly shaped parcel in the center of the picture. If you look closely about 3/4 of the way across, you can see a shadow of the high tension lines in one of the towers, and you can actually see how Pico clears that. That is essentially the property line. That divides this piece from the other side. So we have two road frontages, no direct access to the bypass is proposed, exists or is proposed. On the next sheet, we have a brief description of the project and an aerial overlay of the. As long as they hold out, you're welcome to pick one of these brochures up here. You can see that the layout, we proposed a right-in only access close to the bypass, and full access across from the main driveway across from the church. That'll be a full access, left in, right in, right out, left in, left out, full service. The pumps are located closest to the bypass and away from the church. There's two reasons for that. Number one, Wawa always prefers to put the pumps facing the highway. It works a lot better operationally. I've been through at least 10 of these applications, and I know that TPD has probably done 300 or 400 of them for Wawa. And traffic circulation-wise, this works the best. This is one of the facilities, if you've been to a newer Wawa, where you have a front entrance and a rear entrance. The rear entrance, which would be the access that the folks coming in off Lower State Road would first come to, or Lower Silver Lake Road would first come to. It's for those customers who want to purchase convenience goods only. The rear door then provides them the means of doing that without getting out in front with all the traffic that's in front of the gas pumps. So it avoids a lot of traffic conflicts by doing it that way. There are 8 pumps basically in 16 fueling positions. You can see that in a little more detail later. promote trash enclosure, pedestrian walkways, bike path, etc. Go to the third slide. There you see what this corner looks like today. You can see there is a bank. That corner, it's overgrown, nothing on the facility right now. And so the next page, if you turn to it, is the concept. Same view, exactly from the exact same perspective with the proposed Wawa superimposed. What this shows you are two things. When we met with board supervisors, they seem to be very interested in a good fence with some nice stone columns between with the fence running in between, as well as a nice welcome sign to Newtown. So this is an updated view of what we showed the board on May 14th. And again, nobody has seen this yet. It's open for discussion, but it's what we thought was consistent with what we were asked to produce as a concept. The fence combination here, I think, is attractive. You can see in the background, we've also spruced up the building, and I'll get into that when we get a little closer. The original building that we had, we showed the supervisors a brick building. We told them that Wawa was flexible, Wawa could add a few additional embellishments, and Wawa would also be willing to do stone, stucco, or cementitious siding, if that was the preference. Again, though I remember Mr. Mack saying he liked the brick, I think the majority of the board liked the stone, so tonight I'm going to show you what the stone facade looks like. The second photograph is a little bit different perspective on the same intersection. A little bit, this one's taken from essentially right on the corner of the map, looking across. And then on the next slide out, you see a little bit different view of what we proposed. This would be, now on this photograph, obviously the site has been somewhat shaved down, a little closer to street level. In order to accomplish that, we need PennDOT's cooperation because that's within the PennDOT right of way. And we believe we can accomplish that. This one shows a little more clearly the, call it the shed roof style that we're proposing, what is being proposed for this facility. That shed roof style over the pumps has a couple of advantages. One of the major ones, of course, is if there's any light that's under that, it's clearly directed down. You've probably seen some of the Wawa roofs that go kind of at a slant and up, but they don't have the A-frame look. And at this point, we think this is the appropriate view. You can see at a distance, there's actually a couple of pointers now that added to the facade of the building. And again, we'll get to that. The next slide is a closer up view from the intersection of the facility, showing very clearly the Newtown sign, township sign, and also a little bit closer view of the building, called the streetscape view. On the next slide, we're moving in closer again to the building. Here we've added a couple of different architectural features. You can see that the base of the proposed convenience store now is stone. You can also see, if you look closely, that instead of stucco, we actually have not siding, cementitious siding. Instead of just plain stucco, we're private on the sides of the building. Added a couple of, added a mansard roof, a couple of dormers, big dormers, but for aesthetics. And you can also see on the right side, these columns near the fuel pumps are now stone faced instead of brick faced. The building materials all are compatible with one another. The next slide is a little more detailed. This is an architectural rendering. All four sides of the building are shown here. Consistent building materials all the way around. The stone base, the cementitious siding, and then of course in the upper right-hand corner of the front view. There's also a floor plan. You've been in a Wawa, you've seen a floor plan before. There's nothing unique about this. This is their one of their prototypes that's being proposed here. The next slide provides the details for the canopy. shows all the different views of the canopy. We've been questioned in the past about the height of the canopy. That height essentially allows a tractor trailer to pass underneath. There will be no fueling by large trucks. There are no high-speed diesel pumps, although it doesn't happen. If you have a car that uses diesel, you can refuel it. But if you had a truck, you'd be there for an hour trying to refuel it. All the truck operators know that. And that answers the question that we often get is, what are you going to do with large vehicles? And the answer is they don't commit. They're discouraged. Unfortunately, for that reason, they don't stay. And they know the trucks can't refuel. There is a lot of truck traffic on the bypass. That's always a concern. So they can't refuel with this facility. They cannot. No high-speed diesel pumps. So
The truck could come in there, right? Or no?
they can. The truck comes to Wawa, has to have their refueling truck come in. So you have to pass through.
I would appreciate it if our comments and questions were directed at the conclusion of the presentation.
That's up to you. You run the meeting, Mr. Bitter. You're running the meeting. We'll answer whatever you prefer.
I prefer to wait until the end. If you have a question or comment, let's just let the presentation roll, get it done, and then address
The
questions.
next picture shows the main entrance, which would be the one that's directly across from the Provco Community Church entrance, the one furthest away from the bypass. That shows the full-service access and the perspective that you can see from that location. And the last slide here shows you why this is, why we believe that this is a good site for Wawa, and why Wawa believes it's a good site. It shows the distance to the nearest Wawa stores from this site in all different directions. And there is a substantial hole, at least in Wawa's market, that this would fill, and we believe is an appropriate location for the proposed facility. What I'd like to do now, with your permission, is to ask Mr. Austin Chuck just to give a brief overview of what traffic planning design has looked at from a traffic standpoint, what we envision and what he envisions, his firm envisions as